Hi there, I'm Russ, and today I'm going to be building a Sturmreise, or the Uber Blitzwerfer. So I've got here just a model of the plasma orb. It's a 3-inch one off Amazon, and I'm going to do a bit of block editing on this. This is just blocking out, getting a few things into position. Like here I know I need something that's going to go around this. So I'm just like, alright, let's get, how big do I want this? Just get rid of that. I'm not worrying about things matching up too much because most of this is going to get deleted. But it's important to get an idea of scale. I'm working with 28mm. This is for Konflict 47. So that's the 28mm base, 25mm base actually I've been putting on. And yeah, just trying to get like basic proportions right. It's going to change a lot. But as you see, I thought I'd show the entire design process. And this is going to be the start of the legs. And I'm making a lot of use of like copies and pasting, and the legs are all going to be the same. So if I use Alt-D on Blender, that'll make a copy that will go in. And which will change as we go around. And then I'm going to be doing a lot of using the center point of that orb for this. So I can then rotate it around. Again, not spending much time on this bit, just getting stuff kind of laid out. Dunk, dunk, dunk. And then this is when I realise I need to do the center point. And yeah. Rotate it round, get the bunch. That's what it's looking like. Already looking pretty cool. That's what you want. So now we're going to go in and start detailing a bit of this. And yeah, the most important part I need to do is this top bit. I'm just adjusting like levels still. Just as you come, what I'm doing here is multiple sessions. It's doing about 3 weeks. I get like a half hour. So if the clip changes suddenly, it's because I'm not doing this in one go, I'm doing this in chunks. I'm trying to figure out how best to extend this, get my shape in, realise I need to split it fairly early before I do any detailing, because I want this to be able to come apart and then kind of click in. So yeah, I've split them into 2 models now. Now I've just got to fill in the edges. This is the bane of my existence. This is going to come back to this several times because I don't need to be too neat in my modelling because I'm going to remesh the whole thing at the end, but I need to fill in any gaps so at least the remesher has got a solid kind of thing. Right, carrying on with this, we'll just finish off this last little bit here. See, I'm just selecting the edges. I've edited a chunk of this out. Then I've got to select that, fill that, fill that, fill that. Yeah, lots of little gap filling. And then just checking here that it fits around. There's nothing like moving in the sides. So now I can actually start some detailing. Decide I want to make like a nice little base thing here. Going to move that in. Realise I'm going to want to do different ones. And I'm a big fan of vents. I think vents in this kind of steampunky, weird war stuff looks good. So we're just going to whack that in there. Inset them slightly. Just going to mess around with different things. And then the opposite side, I want like a covered thing. Alright, rotate that in. Position it. And then do the same with the other one. Actually, now I'm still positioning. Oh yes, I maybe that. Decided to add one vent on each side, and then some of those other kind of, not quite sure what these would call these panels. I'm just playing around with different looks. I think I end up just kind of staying with what I've got there. I've got them here. I can have a look. Yeah, I mostly stay with that. It'll be fine. Further detailing. This is like an intermediate step where I'm adding detail, but I'm not worrying too much. Like everything can change. Still trying to get my head around how I'm going to see. I think I figure out it's a 60-degree angle at some point. Now looking at that, are these right? Yeah. Doop doop. Alright, and then we're going to work on the kind of, there you go, you can see the bits that go around it. These are going to be the bane of this thing. I think this causes about, well, I've got 3 of them now. Trying to get these to fit in and look good turns out to be quite difficult. You'll see that's like, I'll get to a thing, I'll do this, I'll print it, and then like one of the veins will immediately snap off, like as I'm taking the supports off. So that's kind of, yay. I've basically got enough of these to build a secondary one. And you'll see that I have an idea. I come back to the idea and go, I don't like that. And that's kind of it. It's kind of evolution. You know, these things don't start fully formed in your head. You'll do something and it look good and you go, I don't like that. But the whole idea here is just to kind of get something in place that will look a bit better. Yeah, trying to get these spaced properly. Move them out slightly. Because I don't want them actually touching the ball, but I want them to be close. And now I'm adding in the connectors again. Oop, mute the other channel. Yeah. We'll just go in, make sure this clicks in. I'm liking some of it, I'm just not liking the top veins at the moment. And yeah, this will be revisited multiple times as I evolve through. I'm on to a new day at this point. I'm trying some wires. Do I like some wires? Cableator is an amazing add-on, by the way. So I'm wondering what I'm using here. But in the end, I decided to remove most of these. But for now. Because, yeah. At the time that looked good. Looking back at it now and looking back at the next session. Nah. And it's kind of like it's evolution. It's like, oh yeah, we'll have something running up to here. And yeah. But again, finicky, harder to print. And just didn't quite work. So, yeah. It's all good. And look, of course, we can copy these around. And I try something here. It's like, oh, we should have a connection box or something like the bottom. So I mess around with that for a bit. Put some more wiring and cables in. And I'm just making these fairly random. I'm just doing loop cuts and bevels and stuff like that. Just to make them look like different wires. Ironically, I've spent a bit too much time on there because by the scale I'm printing these at my FDM printer just to put the detail in. But yeah, they look cool on this bit. They don't look terrible in the print. They just, you can't tell how much time I spent on that. All good. But of course, now I've got that, I can just easily rotate them through. Doop, doop. Like that. Here we've decided against the wires already. We're going to go with there. Notice that needs to come in. A lot of these are Alt-D'd, so I can come in and just like delete. Like, oh, when I edit one, it's going to edit all the others. And you can see that's already looking a bit better. I decided I want a bit more texture on here. And because I'm remeshing, I can just like layer in a new thing here. Bit of a bevel, bit of an inset. Looking pretty cool. So yeah. Now we're going to add in some rivets. I'm just using circles here. I use square ones when I do the Soviet stuff, but for this, I'm just, yeah. Oh yeah, if you're on the channel, I've been doing a lot of Konflict stuff. I've done quite a lot of Konflict stuff, models, but I just realised I'd never actually videoed any of them. And I'm putting that to right there. So yeah, wham, wham, wham. Mesh them in. Thought, yeah, I need something in here. Let's just add in some more vents, because vents are cool. Yeah, a bit of beveling. And then now I'm just going to replace all those others with that. Here, I'm just going to clean that up so it's not going into the vent. Bit of riveting on here. Yeah. I'm using the snapping modifier here, but I vary my techniques. I'm learning. Again, got to select all of those. It's mildly annoying. Mesh them in. I mess around with this for a bit and then realise that no one's going to notice because it's going to be painted, so I just leave it. Laziness. Alright, so I'm just replacing that one with that. There we go, we've got a nice looking thing. Just adjust a few angles. And then I come back to this at the top. Having filled in the rest, I'm just adjusting a few little bits, make sure everything connects in. I think at some point I'm just going to decide, yeah, I like the bottom, but I don't like the main bit, so I'm just going to come in and redo this. You're going to see that fair bit, as I say. Just copy this. I've got it there as kind of a reference, using a bevel. And then we're going to mess around, see what we get. I'm going to select alternates. And then, yep, I'm starting to like this now. Bevel it. Deal with those little extra bits at the top because I don't like that. Just adjusting it, trying to make it less phallic. Always a problem in these games, these things. Alright, so these are as I said earlier, these are the thin ones that are going to snap like anything. But I end up liking the look of this. So I copy those in. And we're going to go one bam, thank you ma'am. Split. Remember, I have to split these so they join in. So I'm just trying to level up the vertices so they match up with the same ones on the thing below, because it'd be kind of stupid to have a print that goes off in a different direction. And then for this, we're going to, I realise I just have to work on one of these. I'm trying to figure out an easy way of doing that, and I just realise I have to just select every other. But I don't have to select them when they're not going to be seen. So we're just going to insert, bevel, do a little bit of thing, rescale. And then, yeah, this kind of works as a look, but isn't printable. That's fine. It's all good. But yeah, so that kind of brings us to the end of this bit. Just checking on the inside, make sure I'm not touching this thing. I actually did this right on the first print. And then I'm just joining these to make two separate objects. You can see they can move away. And yeah, going to remesh them together. And this is what I'm going to do for most of the project. Just adjust the remeshing and go on. So, having done that, I'm going to go on to this. I actually remeshed that too early. That's caused a few problems down the line. I had to delete stuff. But I'm working my platform. And I've decided, I'm trying to figure out what I want at the corners. I want something at the corners, but I don't know what. So I'm going to go through a few iterations here and end up just deleting everything and going back to my legs and go, okay, yeah. Let's just work on the legs, come back to the platform. Just adjust them so they're a bit more central. Because the 60 degrees doesn't quite work. Yeah. So, platform. Now I've got the legs in place. I'm going to put that. I'm going to decide I'm going to make it like almost like a double thickness. This will connect the legs on. And we're just adjusting size. I deleted the original one because I've messed up the scaling and it was kind of a bit fat. And I'm kind of going more for looks here than anything else. I've imported a random guy I bought. And just so I've got a scale of what it'll look like. Again, I want something at the corners. Don't know quite what. Do you want a big control power or a pillbox? I'm going to go through quite a few iterations of this. Decide I want a railing or something like this. Because, there is OSHA in mine. Germans don't want their people getting minced by those wheels. They haven't got enough manpower. And again, I'm using an Alt-T to make this. This is too blocky. I'm having a look at making a bunker on the side, but I don't decide this is too blocky. It looks too heavy to go on. And I'm looking at it and going, yeah. And then I'm going to add in some detail. So if you're not sure on something, you move on to something else. Let's add in some grids. And I'm just kind of using sets and bevels and stuff like that to make this gridded. Actually turns out not looking too bad, except the way the angles is on the grids doesn't look great. So yeah, coming back to these. Now I've got the metallic bit looking good. It's like, yeah, no, don't like that. What if I go for something else? How about if I put a machine gun on this? It's just all going to be terrible. So yeah, we go through a bit of this. So at this point, I've kind of come up with this stupid thing. It's rubbish. I decided I want guns, but I was trying to do a control panel, but it's like, all right, let's do something like the verbal find. Let's put something on there, and I can have something at the bottom there, and yeah, let's do a little gun platform. And it's like, yeah, let's go full verbal wind. This thing was one of the things that got me the most, actually, I think. Trying to get this corner bit. So yeah, I'm just going to go through a verbal wind. And yeah, spend time that I'm ultimately going to delete. Spoiler. Because although these didn't look bad on their own, they just look too chunky. I mean, it's a big boy anyway. And the whole thing just ended up looking like stupid. I'm using a Boolean there to cut that out. And although I like the idea, again here I've decided I want to roof it because I don't want to deal with having to where the people sit. Honestly, I don't think this looks terrible. It just doesn't work for this. And it's just like that is just thing is this, isn't it? It's like, oh yeah, I can level these barrels up, have a go at this. We're going to duplicate that into that, modify them so they don't touch it, delete all those, then we're going to replicate those round. And it's just like, okay, I'd have to bevel these in. I'm looking again, still trying to think about a command unit on the bottom. It's like, where's this thing going to drive? Who's going to drive this thing is what I'm thinking. In the end I decide, I don't care. It just works. You don't question this. There's a guy standing behind it with a remote control. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how I can do a little control center at the bottom. I'm doing windows and stuff like that. But yeah, and a bunker would be more realistic. And this doesn't look terrible, but it's just too busy. Just trying out different guns. And then come back for a different session and go on to the legs. So, the legs I had a bit more of an idea. I was just mainly here fighting the fact that my model was not deforming as I was hoping it would. Yeah, for some reason this thing just didn't want to, I want to inset this a little bit, but it's fighting me for some reason. So I ended up having to just do it like that. Then I put a little bit, I'm going to change through this. I want this to be like armor plating, but I haven't decided exactly what. Do some adjustments on the legs. And I'm kind of getting more, you've probably seen the screenshot of this, I'm getting more to this. And yep, dunk, we're doing mirror this so I can just limit the amount of extra work I have to do. So when I do something to one side, it gets done to the other. And then we're just going to go like that. We're going to get a nice little sprocket looking thing. Go with that. Play with adjusting the sizes a bit. I want it to look not like a piston, but like that. And we'll go with that. And then we're going to add in some random bits. I realise I should do this for all sides because this is going to be repeated a few times in different parts. Yeah. And again, I'm just adding in random tubes, cablings, power conduits, whatever you want to call them. Just something to give a bit more detail when you do the leg. Where's my copy? I've got random failed 3D prints. Again, this is a lot of work you can't really see much of. Even though at the scale I'm at, the FDM printer just can't deal with it. But, you know, it makes me happy. I mean, you can tell it's there, and I'm sure when I print it, it'll look better, but yeah, I should have been a bit chunkier with these details. I suppose if I printed with a smaller nozzle, yeah, but I'm not printing this with a smaller nozzle. Okay, and then copy those across, mirror them in, and I'm just trying different things around here. I'm trying to get some detail in. Right, and when we've got to the end of this, I'll at least have a nice little, like, piston gear, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Hinge axle probably do it. So yeah, now I've done that, I just copy it out 3 times, and wham. I decide that's a bit chunky, we're going to go in, we're going to do some beveling, because beveling always thinks things look better. Let's figure out some more details for this. Yeah. Everyone gets a stylistic choice. Then I want this to look like it's actually being powered, so I'm going to put some pistons in. Decide to have 2 big ones that would push this leg forwards. Again, adding some detail in. And then I copy them out, make them smaller, extend them, make sure they're straight. I go for 3 at the top, there we go. Just a bit of a bevel in here. Decide I've got to do something about this back to make them like line up a bit more. Come on, you can do it, Rory. You can do it. Yeah. And then we're going to delete all these. Going to Alt-D that. There we go. Suddenly got a lot more detail. Now I'm thinking at this point I want to put in something at the centre that's just going to help line them up, but I'll come back to that. Only want a bit more detail on here. Again, this time I make these a little bit chunkier and they actually work. And then I'm going to duplicate them, I put them on the other side. Now for the front wing, I want some detail on here, but it takes me a little while to figure out what I actually like the look of. And this is just sort of playing around. It's like, I want some raised plates. I think, oh, can I give something that goes down the middle? It's like, no. Let's move on to do something else, put a bit more detail on the sides. Most of this you're not going to see, it's all good. This bit, I decide needs a bit more detail because this is where it kind of connects in. And yeah, I realise some of my previous choices in beveling have caused me some issues, so I go in and try and fix that. Again, you can never have enough exhausts on these things. So I'm just going to add, removing a few vertebrae so I can do this easier, put that out, bevel that in. Finally come back, try to figure this out. Just neatening it up. Again, the actual modelling isn't that much of an issue. And then this looks like a big empty blank area, so we're going to put some more piping in. Angle of this is a pain because I'm going off a 45 degree. I decide to go like that. Detail this one up. And then just duplicate that down. Mirror it. Pop it on the other side. And because I'm using Alt-T, this is getting populated out to all my other legs. Then I want something in there to kind of just hold them in, so I just make this little bracket Again, this is under the legs. It's not going to be that visible. Then I've had a nightmare of a time actually just moving these out. And in the end, I just decided to screw it and just copy the flat ones and do the other ones by hand. Even then, I had to replace these again a couple of times because they weren't properly connected in and they just fell off when I printed them. The first leg print, I forgot that I'd mirrored these bits on the axles. And yeah. Right. Now I'm going back to the guns. I'm not happy with the guns. Adjust them slightly. Alright. So I'm just adding a bit more detail here. Still haven't removed the mirror though. This is what's going to cause my first test print to fail. Now these, not happy. Going to move them off to one side. Take this down to 1. I like the idea of machine guns, but they were just too big. So what I'm going to do is kind of like a rotating pintle mount. Just something somebody can jump into. So I'm just going to line it up. Do that. Take the center out. Well, that reminds me, I need to fix this because the thing all dropped off on my print. I'm just going to steal one of those. I've got the geometry. I may as well use it already. Then we want this to go in like that. Macing off my guy. Yep. I decided I probably need to print these separately. I put a little print at the bottom there just so the guns can sit on without going too far back. Thinking of, there we go. I go to import a machine gun I already made. Scale it up a little bit. It's got more detail than you can see, but yeah. And we're going to take a gun shield like the Ostal. And then we're just going to make that. It's always easy to model on the square and then level it up. I'm just trying out different things here, just making them mesh a little bit, so I can do that. Looking through this, just adjusting the size slightly. I decided I want to connect that in a little better. No one's going to look at it. It's fine. It can be low detail. And let me just do a few final tweaks. Maybe with that. Chunk, 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 chunk. And yeah, we're looking pretty good. I adjust the legs so they touch the top. Very important if you can glue them on. Then I just got to go and add these little pinkles at the side of everything. It's starting to look good. But you're thinking, this doesn't look like the picture. No, it doesn't look like the picture. Yeah, this is the Mark 1. So, yeah, I mess around here with the making a version of the thing. I decide against it. Yeah, so I end up with this kind of plaque thing with the this is the green volt symbol if you don't know Konflict. But I decide it's just a bit too much. I prefer the clean look at the front. So I'm just adjusting that. Now I'm just going in and making a few modifications. Just adjusting sizes and places. Just lining everything up a little bit better. Decide there's a bit more detail needed at the back. And I decide also clean up my geometry a little bit. Yeah, I decided it'd be nice to have this go into something. And I would just do the same thing I've done a million times. But this time I'll just do it for a bevel because I just want to... There we go. Just cleaning up there. Alright. And I decided we want a little bit of extra detail at the top there, so we'll do that. Alright. Yep. Delete those, so I'm happy with the guns. Now I'm just going to add in some magnet holes. I'm going to be using Boolean for this. And the aim here is just so I can click it together. Ironically, I don't end up using this on my version. But you'll see in a bit what happens. Alright, checking out different lighting. Yeah. Separating these out so I can print them separately. Adjusting the railings a little bit. At this point I've decided these railings are going to be a nightmare to print. Well, actually I haven't done that yet. That's the first test print. The first test print needs to go in the bin actually, and that was an absolute failure. But I don't know that yet. That's why you test print. I'm just adding some more detail. And it's just all going to get deleted. Yay me. Okay, so now we're post test print, and that's failed. And I've decided to just go to a big piece of armour, kind of like I had before. So populate these in, chunk, chunk, chunk. And we're going to mess around with this for a bit. Okay. Just get something like this. Going to do some horrible geometry life choices here. It's not going to come back and haunt me later. Just scale the whole thing. Why aren't you scaling the whole thing, you idiot? And we're just putting some back detail that no one's ever going to see. And we'll place that. And we'll go in there. Dunk. And we'll have a go at printing that. Right. This one actually works pretty well. You know, I print this and the guns. Yeah. Just adjusting a few things still. And yeah, now I'm making it manifold and meshing it together. I'm trying to join all the legs bits together now to one model. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to print it in multiple parts or not. In the end, I just go sod it. Who's going to be printing this on a resin printer and just make it so it fits to my FDM, which is a Bamboo A1. It gives me a 25 centimeter build plate. Even then, it's a bit of a pain. Look, here's me remembering I need to deal with the mirror or not. But yeah, so what am I doing here? Why am I adjusting all this? Well, hello. Yeah, well, yes. So, here this is the bit that snapped. I'm just going to adjust this. Make this a lot thicker. Because the first one of these just broke up. And it did not end well. So, doop. Just going to remodel this. Trying different methods. Going to grab these out using the proportional editing, which is an O. Grab it out, make it look cool. Do the same thing, make sure these line up. Badly. Adjust the scaling. Try it with a circle. This is right. One of the more annoying bits. I think this and the guns were the things that my brain didn't. Like, the first time I did this worked perfectly. The platform worked well. This bit and the guns, those are my hardest design choices. Again, I'm selecting badly. God, I'm so bad at that. Now I've got to find my right pivot to get them to go in. The beveling. Just the thickness. And again, even here I screwed this up. I have to reprint this because I make it slightly too small and it doesn't actually fit around. And here I'm adjusting the size. I'm just trying to figure out where I want, how many of these I want. On the end I go for like these two. I go, yep, that looks good. Do I want something else coming up to give us more structural stability? In the end I quickly decide no, it's too busy. You won't see enough of the plasma orb. Adjusting the magnet holes I added to the bottom because they weren't big enough. Even this isn't big enough. And then we'll add in some more rivets. I've already printed one of these, as I say, and it's kind of like, it's okay, but it needs more detail. So, here I'm using an array to line my rivets up. It's actually a smarter way of doing it. Then, of course, mesh them in. This is the point where I remesh it too early, and then I have to use weird editing methods to fix it. Then I'm going to fill the caps in. Very important if you're going to 3D print. Remember to add in all the rivets when you're doing the mesh. Caps to the other side. And then I decided some more rivets, why not? So another array. Just messing around with the angles to get it to work. Rotate them. Join them in. There we go, that looks a lot more steampunky, doesn't it? I'm messing around with this for some reason. Oh yeah, I decided to see if I can make one that's open. And just because I've got one on the, I looked at the thing and just like, no, it's not for me. So yeah, I'm just going to play around for a few minutes with like control box and stuff like that. And then end up deleting it because it doesn't look right. I go, yeah, sorry, I'm just going to go back to the original scan. And then we just go back to that. Alright, I think we're getting up to the bit where I've spoken to my brother. My brother has gone, oh, it'd be cool if you could fit a Marvel Crisis protocol on this. So yeah, I've deleted the whole base. What I've done here is I've split the hexagon into thirds, and I'm now trying to figure out how best to add in some detail. So yeah, this is the boy's getting bigger now. Still got proportion editing sorted out. I'm trying different shapes of panels and stuff like that. Some will work, some will won't. And in the end, I think I end up going for something relatively simple. But yeah, so yeah, I showed this to my brother and the guys in the group, and they said, yeah, it would be great for like Hydra. And you know what? The problem is he's right, and not just because of that. He's also right because it would be great for fitting the larger base models in here. So here I'm going for doing the grid again. I'm doing it in a much more kind of here I decided I'm best off splitting this out. Rotate. Even this is just about visible. And then we'll kind of join this. And see, I'm kind of using the same model multiple times. We'll kind of adjust this a few times, and then we'll go, yeah, I don't want those two. Make sure I delete the right bits. Remember to join them. I only need two, so here I decide I'm going to have joins between where I glue these together. So because it's 3 pieces, it's got to go together. And so I make a little vent thing here that can glue over the top to try and cover most of the gap. Because, you know, that's anything that covers like gaps in miniatures is a good idea. Here I'm putting some detail in. So I'm putting a little access hatch. It's going to look cool. And then I'm going to do an access hatch because I've forgotten that there's a gun going here. So I'm going to make a nice cool open one. Now, in hindsight, thinking here, I could have printed both of these and had various ones across the way, but, I got lazy. Yeah, it's all good. I'm doing wiring and stuff like that. Honestly, this probably wouldn't be too small to see anyway. And then I even do an open hatch. I think this is, at some point I'm going to bring the guns back in and then realise. Here I'm putting in a middle of a bracket. So yeah, Greg, this is all your fault. You see how far I got, and now look at me. This is mainly just to keep, like, disguise the link into those two, give it a bit more depth. Rivets are important. The thing is, this goes a lot quicker than the previous platform because I've already got it in my head. And it's one of those things that as you do something, you get better at it. And it's kind of like, oh, I've learned a new way of doing this. This is going to be quicker than the last time I did it. Can't remember if I changed the platforms out. Yeah, here's me realising that, you can see the little camera shake there as I get angry at myself. Funny. Sorry, I didn't know I'd done that. Right, more rivets. Try and decide how many, where to put them. Obviously, I'm not professional. This is a hobby. But I'm feeling a nice little niche. And thanks to everyone who's actually bought things like that. I mean, if you end up buying this, it's amazing. I mainly do it so I have one. But the fact I've actually made some cash off it is amazing. And here I am. I'm thinking about splitting these because at this point I haven't realised I can just print them separately. So I'm thinking about booling them off. It's like I'm making my life harder here because then I'd have to gap fill on the gap fillers. And it's like, why? Why are you doing this, you idiot? Pass me. Pass me as an idiot. I've even realised I'm filling holes here. At some point it's going to dawn on me that this is kind of breaking the whole thing that I'm trying to do. Alright, I'm going to put some more rivets on the front here. It's interesting when you're doing this in hindsight, when you can see what you fixed and what you did along the way. Alright. Of course, we're going to duplicate this out. Yep, I'm only working on one of these at the moment, but I can easily just go and duplicate these out. Because I've been working pretty non-destructively with layers, that's one advantage of rasterizing everything in at the end. So you can alter stuff, whereas if you're doing it with good modelling, this is where I realised they're not going to fit up. And this is where I was like, oh, yeah, you're an idiot. Why are you doing this? God, it took me that long, did it? Right, okay. Delete. Yeah, if I was doing this with perfect modelling, that would be a pain to fix. Because I'm just smashing them together at the end, I can get away with a lot of this rubbishness. So yeah, I'm adjusting them so they actually lie flat. Separate them off into their own object. And then we'll just rotate them around. Okay, so now I'm working on the bottom. The idea here is I'm going to have something that will help guide these pieces so they just go in. This is not going to be my best work. If you have the model and you're looking at the bottom, yeah, I'm sorry. But I've been working on this for a few weeks now. I'm kind of losing the will. And no one's going to see this in my head. It's like, no one's going to look at the bottom of this. It's just got to like be a little guide for these to go in. So I'm adjusting them, making it look cool. There'll be enough detail here that people will be able to see there's like undercarriage, but none of it is that important. So I am being rough on here. I'm not putting any rivets or anything like that. I am making sure everything lines up. Control Z, and also making sure. So what I've done here as well, as I've made the same plate twice, but I've rotated it by 30 degrees, whatever. So the idea is that when you glue them together, like the joins will not line up, which is kind of important. I put this thing in here. I still may go back and fix this, because this isn't square. This isn't a circle. I have no idea what that is. I'm just making sure it doesn't touch the model. Bringing these back in, bringing these back in. Give myself an idea what it looks like finished. Kind of slightly horrified at myself at how big this is going to be. And yep. Oh yes. Also, oh, it'd be good if you could get models underneath it. Greg. I hope you're watching this video, by the way. Brother of mine. So yes, here I am adjusting all the legs to try and get 80mm of clearance under there. The biggest model I've got in my collection is Zola for the NCP. He's 80mm tall. So, yeah. I did think about having a leg coming up cool, but I decided because of having models on there, I wanted the structural stability. So yeah, here I'm playing with like making that foot bigger, but I don't like how it looks. It's not needed. So I'll move it back in a bit. Got a bunch of these guys who are going to pit like there's random pistons that are just going to annoy me first of time. So now I can see we're getting. So I actually do like the height. I think I'm complaining, Greg, but I do like how this is improved. See here we got a picture of like how they're going to go together, and yeah, bit of weight, bit of gluing. You can see the upgrade here from the size 1. The main problem I had was the legs kind of twisted and were pulling off. So here what I'm doing is I'm just building a extra plate that will go in at the bottom. So I've put some magnet tape on and it holds them in place, but the moment you put the weight down, the angles were just tipping it. So the idea is this plate will kind of go on and just secure the thing in. That's what I'm hoping anyway. So I'm just lining this up. This will just be like one kind of solid plate, and then I'm just moving it down so it kind of matches these bits. The idea is I'm trying to make it there. Also, it hides that horrible central bit. I mean, in my head, I know no one's ever going to see that, but you know, it's bad enough that I hate it, but not bad enough that I go back and fix it. If that makes sense. Also, this underside is not my greatest work, but again, it's there to give some side-on interesting view. So I can live with that. Make sure everything's level and flat. And actually, this thing worked first time, which is pretty impressive. Just give it a bevel because bevels are sci-fi and cool. Yeah, so quick print of that, and I'm gonna have to hope that works. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to glue the legs on. I really don't want to glue the legs on. I want to break this thing down for storage. It's huge. It's 50 centimeters from toe to toe now. It's gonna take up some room if I can't break it down. So, did it work? Yes, it worked. Thank God. I was very, very worried. Okay, at this point, I get everything printed. I fill a bit of gaps in, and I move on to painting. I'm just a very basic paint job. You know, gave it a bit of an airbrush with different colours, went in, picked out some of the different bits, and here we go with the finished bit. And this thing is glorious, as I would hope. Yep, the arc thing works. It doesn't get hot. I'm not worried about burning that out. The platform, you can see, is big enough here for some MCP guys. And yeah, I just threw a quick background together. Here we got some, better shot of its glorious size. Went in some nice rusting and weathering. You can see the tanks and stuff like that are fittably puny next to it, but there's plenty of room to move around and in it. So it's not, even though it's huge, it's not going to dominate the battlefield too much. You can drive a tank under it. That's the scale we're looking at. And that's kind of what we want. Get a tank under there. It's terrain, but it's not going to block the whole battlefield. And here we get Red Skull and Armazola are quite happy about this project. And finally, yeah, it stores. So I've done my job correctly. Right, thank you very much for watching this, and hopefully you've enjoyed it. This great monstrosity is now available on Cult, so make sure there's a link in the video below. And yeah, if you'd like to pick one up, I've put it on for a £5, which I think is reasonable. Yeah, it's been a fun project, and I'm looking forward to seeing what will come up with Stupid next.